The rain came down hard that Tuesday evening, the kind that soaks through your jacket in seconds. Lisa pulled her thin coat tighter as she hurried through the diner's parking lot. Her feet ached from standing for 9 hours straight, and all she wanted was to get home, check on her mom, and maybe collapse on the couch for an hour before starting dinner. She was halfway to the bus stop when she saw it. A wallet, just lying there on the wet pavement getting soaked by the rain. Lisa looked around. The parking lot was empty. Most people had already left, running to their cars to escape the weather. She bent down and picked it up, water dripping from the dark leather. Her hands trembled a little as she opened it. Not from the cold, though that didn't help, but from what she knew she'd find inside. Money, cards, someone's whole life basically. And right now, standing in the rain after another exhausting shift, she knew exactly what that meant. Inside the wallet, everything was there, credit cards tucked neatly in their slots. A driver's license with a photo of a young man, maybe around her age. His name was Daniel Chen, and his address was in the fancy part of town, the area with the tall buildings and doormen. The kind of place Lisa had only seen in movies or when the bus drove past on its route. Then she saw the cash. Her breath caught in her throat. She counted it quickly, her fingers moving through the bills. $800, maybe more. All neat and organized like someone who never had to worry about money. $800. Lisa closed her eyes for a moment. $800 would solve so many problems right now. The rent was already 3 days late, and her landlord had stopped being understanding about it. Her mom needed new medication, the kind their insurance barely covered. The electric bill was sitting on the kitchen counter, stamped with a final notice. And here in her hands was enough money to breathe again. Just for a little while, nobody would know. The parking lot was empty. The rain would wash away any evidence she'd even been here. She could take the cash, toss the wallet in a trash can somewhere, and that would be that. Rich people like this Daniel guy probably had plenty of money anyway. He'd cancel the cards, get new ones, and forget about it by next week. Lisa stood there in the rain, the wallet heavy in her hands. She thought about her mom, sitting at home in their small apartment trying not to show how much her arthritis hurt today. She thought about the way her mom smiled whenever Lisa came home, even on the worst days, always asking about her shift and if she'd eaten enough. Her mom, who had worked 3 jobs to raise Lisa alone after her dad left, who had never once complained about how hard things were. What would her mom say if she knew Lisa had kept money that wasn't hers? Lisa knew the answer. She'd raised her better than that. Growing up, even when they had nothing, her mom had always said the same thing. We might be poor, but we're not thieves. Our integrity is all we really own, Lisa. Nobody can take that from us unless we give it away. She slipped the wallet into her jacket pocket, protecting it from the rain. Tomorrow was her only day off this week. She'd been planning to sleep in, maybe do laundry, help her mom with some cleaning. Instead, she'd be taking a bus across town to return this wallet. It would cost her bus fare she couldn't really afford, and time she desperately needed for rest. But there wasn't really a choice, was there? Not if she wanted to look at herself in the mirror. The bus ride home took 40 minutes. Lisa sat by the window, watching the rain stream down the glass, the wallet still in her pocket. She kept thinking about that money, about how easy it would be, about how tired she was of struggling, of counting every single dollar, of choosing between food and medicine, between rent and electricity. But she also thought about something else. About the person who lost this wallet. Maybe he was panicking right now, searching everywhere, retracing his steps. Maybe that money meant something to him too. Maybe it wasn't just $800. Maybe it was rent money, or money for something important. She didn't know his story, and it didn't really matter. It wasn't hers. When she got home, her mom was in the kitchen, slowly stirring a pot of soup. She looked up when Lisa walked in, her face lighting up the way it always did. "There's my girl. How was work, honey?" "Long," Lisa said, hanging up her wet jacket. She pulled out the wallet and set it on the kitchen table. "I found this in the parking lot. I'm going to return it tomorrow." Her mom picked up the wallet and opened it, seeing the cash inside. She looked at Lisa for a long moment, and something passed between them. Understanding, pride. Maybe a little sadness, too, because they both knew what that money could have done for them. "That's my girl," her mom said softly, closing the wallet and handing it back. "The right thing isn't always the easy thing." "I know, Mom. That night, Lisa couldn't sleep well. She kept thinking about the next day, about taking that bus across town. She'd looked up the address on her phone. It was one of those expensive high-rise buildings with marble lobbies and fancy elevators. She felt anxious about it, about going somewhere she clearly didn't belong, about facing whoever this Daniel Chen was. What if he thought she'd stolen something from the wallet? What if he called the police? What if the doorman wouldn't even let her in? She'd seen movies where people like her got treated badly in places like that. The worry kept her tossing and turning, but every time she thought about just mailing the wallet or leaving it at a police station, something stopped her. She wanted to return it properly, to make sure it got back to its owner. The next morning came too soon. Lisa got dressed in her nicest clothes, which weren't saying much. A pair of jeans without holes, a clean sweater, her only jacket that didn't have stains. She looked at herself in the mirror and sighed. She looked exactly like what she was, a tired waitress who worked too many hours for too little pay. "You look fine," her mom said from the doorway. "You're doing a good thing, Lisa. Hold your head up." Lisa took the bus downtown, watching the neighborhoods change through the window. The buildings got taller, the cars got nicer. The people on the sidewalks wore expensive coats and carried designer bags. She felt more out of place with every block they traveled. When the bus finally stopped near the address, Lisa got off and stood on the sidewalk, staring up at the building. It was even more impressive in person, all glass and steel reaching up into the gray sky. A doorman stood at the entrance, and Lisa could see a fancy lobby through the glass doors. She took a deep breath, pulled the wallet from her pocket, and started walking toward the entrance. Her heart pounded with each step. This was it. She was about to return $800 and walk away with nothing. Nothing except knowing she'd done the right thing. Sometimes that had to be enough. The doorman looked Lisa up and down as she approached. She could feel his eyes judging her worn jacket, her scuffed shoes, the way she clutched her old purse. For a second, she almost turned around and walked away. But she'd come this far. "Can I help you?" His voice wasn't exactly rude, but it wasn't friendly either. It was the voice of someone who knew she didn't belong there. "I'm here to return something," Lisa said, trying to keep her voice steady. "To one of the residents. Daniel Chen, he dropped his wallet and I found it." The doorman's expression changed slightly, less suspicious but still cautious. "You found Mr. Chen's wallet?" "Yes, sir. Yesterday evening. I just want to give it back to him." He studied her for another moment, then picked up a phone from his desk. Lisa stood there awkwardly, very aware of how out of place she looked in this marble lobby with its crystal chandelier and leather furniture. A woman in a business suit walked past, her heels clicking on the polished floor, and Lisa instinctively stepped aside. "Mr. Chen? There's a young woman here. Says she found your wallet." A pause. "Yes, sir. I'll send her up." He hung up and looked at Lisa. "Penthouse floor? Elevator's on your right." Lisa's stomach dropped. "Penthouse, of course." She nodded and walked to the elevator, her heart racing. The doors opened with a soft ding and she stepped inside. The elevator was nicer than her entire apartment. Mirrors on the walls, soft lighting, buttons that glowed when she pressed the one marked PH. As the elevator climbed, Lisa looked at her reflection. She looked tired, scared, completely out of her depth. What was she doing here? Why hadn't she just mailed the wallet? Or dropped it at a police station? The elevator slowed and stopped. The doors opened onto a hallway with only two doors, Penthouse A and Penthouse B. A small sign pointed her to Penthouse B. Lisa walked down the hallway, her feet sinking into carpet so thick it felt like walking on clouds. Everything here screamed money, the kind of money she'd never have in her entire life. She knocked on the door, 3 soft taps. For a moment, nothing happened. Then she heard footsteps and the door swung open. The man standing there surprised her. She'd expected someone older. Someone in a suit, maybe. Someone who looked like the rich businessman she'd seen in magazines. Instead, Daniel Chen looked close to her age, maybe 30 at most. He wore jeans and a plain gray t-shirt, and his hair was a bit messy, like he'd been running his hands through it. He held a laptop in one hand. "Hi," he said, and his voice was warm, genuinely surprised. "You found my wallet?" "Yes," Lisa said, pulling it from her pocket. She held it out to him. "I found it yesterday in a parking lot downtown. Your address was on your license, so I thought I should bring it to you." Daniel took the wallet, opening it quickly. His eyes widened as he flipped through it. "Everything's here. The cards, the cash, everything. You didn't take anything? No, sir. It's all there. Please don't call me sir. I'm Daniel. He looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Amazement? Confusion? You came all the way here just to return this? It's yours. I couldn't keep it. Daniel shook his head slowly, still looking at the wallet like he couldn't believe it. Do you know how rare this is? Most people would have taken the cash at least. Nobody would have blamed you. He pulled out some bills. Please let me give you a reward. This is the least I can do. No, thank you, Lisa said quickly, already backing away. I just wanted to make sure you got it back. I should go now. Wait, Daniel said, stepping forward. At least let me get your name. I want to thank you properly. Lisa hesitated. Something about the way he looked at her made her uncomfortable. Not in a scary way, but in a way that made her feel exposed. Like he could see how desperate she was, how much she'd struggled with the decision to return that money. It's really not necessary, she said. Have a good day. She turned and walked back to the elevator, pressing the button repeatedly, just wanting to get out of there. She could feel him watching her from his doorway. The elevator doors finally opened and she stepped inside, letting out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. As the elevator descended, Lisa felt something unexpected. Relief, yes, but also something else. A strange lightness, like she'd put down something heavy she'd been carrying. She'd done it. She'd returned the wallet, refused the reward, and now she could go home with a clear conscience. The bus ride back was longer than usual. Traffic was bad, and Lisa sat there watching the city go by, thinking about the whole strange morning. About the penthouse apartment, about Daniel's surprised face, about how easy it would have been to take that reward money he'd offered. But she hadn't, and somehow that felt right. When she got home, her mom was waiting with tea and questions. How did it go? Fine, Lisa said, collapsing onto the couch. I gave it back. He seemed nice. Surprised that I didn't take anything? Her mom smiled. I bet he was. Not many people like you left in this world, sweetheart. I don't know about that, Mom. I just did what you taught me. They sat there together drinking tea, and Lisa felt peaceful, tired, still worried about money, still stressed about the bills and the rent and everything else, but peaceful. She'd made the right choice, and that counted for something. 2 weeks went by. Lisa fell back into her routine. Wake up, help her mom with breakfast, head to the diner, work her shift, come home exhausted, repeat. The rent got paid, barely, after she picked up an extra shift. The bills got juggled. Life went on the way it always did, hard and unforgiving, but manageable. She'd almost forgotten about the whole wallet incident when something strange happened. It was a Thursday afternoon, right in the middle of the lunch rush. Lisa was running between tables, taking orders, refilling coffee, the usual chaos. She'd just delivered a plate of eggs and bacon to table 7 when she saw him walk in. Daniel Chen, standing in the doorway of the diner, looking around like he was searching for something, or someone. Lisa froze. What was he doing here? This wasn't his kind of place. This was a greasy spoon diner where truckers and construction workers ate, where the coffee was cheap and strong, where nothing on the menu cost more than $10. Then his eyes found her, and he smiled. He walked straight to the counter and sat down, picking up a menu like he belonged there. Lisa's heart was pounding as she walked over, her order pad in hand. Can I get you something? Coffee, please, he said, and maybe a few minutes of your time if you're not too busy. I'm working, Lisa said, trying to keep her voice professional. But I can get you that coffee. She poured him a cup, her hands shaking slightly. Why was he here? How did he even find her? She hadn't told him where she worked. She hadn't told him anything except her name. Lisa, he said, wrapping his hands around the coffee cup. That's what your name tag says. I've been looking for you. Those words sent a chill down her spine. Why? Because what you did, returning that wallet, it meant something to me. More than you know. He paused, looking at her carefully. I want to talk to you about something, an opportunity. But not here, not while you're working. Do you have a break coming up? Lisa glanced at her manager, who was watching them curiously from across the diner. I get 15 minutes in an hour. Perfect. I'll wait. He sat there sipping his coffee while Lisa went back to work. Her mind was spinning. What did he want? What opportunity? Nothing good came from random rich guys showing up at your work with mysterious offers. She'd seen enough TV shows to know that. But something in his voice had sounded genuine, and he'd waited 2 weeks to track her down just to talk. Whatever this was, it was important to him. When her break finally came, Lisa sat down across from him at a corner booth, her hands folded on the table. "Okay, I've got 15 minutes. What's this about?" Daniel leaned forward, his expression serious. "I want to offer you a job." Lisa stared at Daniel across the booth, sure she'd heard him wrong. "A job?" "Yes, at my company." He pulled out his phone and showed her a website. "I run a tech startup. We develop software for small businesses. We're growing fast and I need someone I can trust." Lisa looked at the phone screen, then back at him. "I'm a waitress. I don't know anything about technology or software or whatever it is you do." "I'm not looking for a programmer," Daniel said. "I need an executive assistant. Someone to help me manage everything. Schedules, meetings, communications, keeping things organized. The technical stuff, we have other people for that. But I need someone who can handle the chaos, someone reliable." Lisa felt her heart start to race, but not in a good way. This felt wrong. Like a trick. "You don't even know me. You want to hire me because I returned your wallet? That's crazy." Daniel set his coffee cup down and looked at her directly. "Let me tell you why I lost that wallet in the first place. I was meeting with some potential investors at a restaurant near your diner. These were people I'd known for years, people I thought were friends. We'd gone to college together, started our careers together. They'd been pushing me to give them equity in my company, promising they'd help me grow it." He paused, his jaw tightening. "That night I found out they'd been stealing from me. For months. Taking money, selling company information to competitors. People I trusted completely. When I confronted them, they didn't even apologize. Just laughed and said that's how business works. I was so angry, so upset, I just walked out. Must have dropped my wallet in the parking lot and didn't even notice." Lisa listened, starting to understand. "So what, you're hiring me because I'm honest?" "I'm hiring you because in a moment when you had every reason to keep that money, when nobody would have known, you still did the right thing. Do you know how rare that is? Especially in my world?" Daniel leaned back. "I've been testing people lately. Leaving my wallet places, seeing what happens. You're the first person who returned it with everything inside. The first." "Oh, that's sad," Lisa said quietly. "It is. But it also showed me something. Character matters more than credentials. I can teach someone about business. I can teach them about technology. But I can't teach them to be a good person. You already are one." Lisa's break was almost over. She could see her manager glancing at the clock. "I appreciate this, I really do. But I don't have a college degree. I barely finished high school because I had to work to help my mom. I've never worked in an office. I wouldn't know what to do." "I'll teach you," Daniel said simply. "Everything you need to know, I'll teach you. And the salary is $60,000 a year to start." Lisa felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. $60,000. She made maybe $22,000 at the diner, working herself to exhaustion. $60,000 was more money than she could imagine. "That's too much," she whispered. "It's the going rate for the position. Actually, it's a bit below market, but we're a startup. Once we grow more, there'll be raises. Benefits too. Health insurance, paid time off, retirement matching." Health insurance. Lisa thought about her mom's medication, about the medical bills they'd been putting off. Her hands started shaking. "I need to think about it," she said. "Of course. Take all the time you need." Daniel pulled out a business card and slid it across the table. "My personal number's on there. Call me when you decide." Lisa took the card, staring at it like it might disappear. "Why are you really doing this?" Daniel smiled, but it was sad. "Because I'm tired of being surrounded by people who only care about money. Because I want to work with someone who understands what it means to struggle, who has integrity. And honestly, because I think you'd be really good at this job. You handle a busy diner during lunch rush. You manage difficult customers. You multitask. You stay calm under pressure. Those are exactly the skills I need." Lisa's manager was definitely staring now. Her break was over. "I have to get back to work. I'll be here for another hour if you want to talk more. Otherwise, call me." Lisa stood up, tucking the business card into her apron pocket. She went back to work, but her mind was spinning. $60,000. A real job. Health insurance. It felt like a dream, the kind she'd stopped letting herself have years ago. The rest of her shift passed in a blur. She messed up 2 orders, forgot to refill coffee, and nearly dropped a tray of dishes. Her coworkers kept asking if she was okay. She wasn't. She was terrified and excited and confused all at once. When she got home that evening, her mom took one look at her face and knew something had happened. "Tell me," she said. Sitting down at their small kitchen table, Lisa told her everything. About Daniel showing up at the diner, about the job offer, about the salary that seemed impossible. Her mom listened quietly, her expression unreadable. "What do you think I should do?" Lisa asked when she finished. Her mom was quiet for a long moment. "What do you want to do?" "I want to say yes. But Mom, I'm scared. What if I'm terrible at it? What if I embarrass myself? What if he realizes I don't belong in that world and fires me after a week? What if you're good at it?" Her mom countered. "What if this is your chance to build a better life? You think I worked 3 jobs so you could be afraid of opportunities? But what about you? Who'll take care of you if I'm working in some office all day?" Her mom reached across and took Lisa's hand. "Baby, I'm not your responsibility. I'm your mother. It's my job to worry about you, not the other way around. And right now I'm worried that you're going to let fear stop you from taking a chance that could change everything." Lisa felt tears starting. "I don't know if I can do it." "Yes, you do. You're smart, you're hardworking, and you're brave. You've been brave your whole life, working to help me, never complaining. This is just a different kind of brave." Her mom squeezed her hand. "Call him. Take the job. See what happens." That night, Lisa couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about everything that could go wrong. But she also kept thinking about everything that could go right. About being able to afford her mom's medication without choosing between that and groceries. About not having to work double shifts. About maybe, possibly having a future that looked different than just surviving day to day. At 3 in the morning, she made her decision. The next day, Lisa called Daniel from her break at the diner. Her hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the phone. "I want to take the job," she said when he answered. "But I need to give my boss 2 weeks' notice. It's the right thing to do." She could hear the smile in Daniel's voice. "Of course. That's exactly the kind of thing I was hoping you'd say. Take your 2 weeks. We'll be here when you're ready." Those 2 weeks were the longest and shortest of Lisa's life. She told her co-workers, who were happy for her but sad to see her go. She trained her replacement, making sure everything was perfect before she left. On her last day, her manager pulled her aside. "I always knew you'd do something bigger than this," he said. "You were too smart, too good to be stuck here forever. Go show them what you're made of." Lisa hugged him, fighting back tears. This diner had been her life for 5 years. It wasn't glamorous, but it had kept her and her mom afloat. Leaving felt strange, like closing a chapter of her life. On Monday morning, Lisa stood outside Daniel's office building in her best clothes, which she'd bought at a thrift store over the weekend. A black skirt, a white blouse, shoes that were almost professional looking. She looked at her reflection in the glass doors and took a deep breath. This was it. Her new life was starting. She had no idea what she was doing, no idea if she'd be any good at it. But she was here, and she was going to try. Lisa pushed open the door and walked inside, ready for whatever came next. The office was nothing like Lisa had imagined. She'd expected cubicles and fluorescent lights, the boring corporate spaces she'd seen on TV. Instead, Daniel's company occupied a renovated warehouse with exposed brick walls, huge windows letting in natural light, and people working at standing desks or lounging on couches with their laptops. Everyone was young, dressed casually, and nobody even looked up when she walked in. Daniel met her at the entrance with a genuine smile. "Ready for your first day?" "As ready as I'll ever be," Lisa said, gripping her new notebook like a lifeline. He walked her through the space, introducing her to what felt like 100 people, whose names she'd never remember. Developers, designers, marketing people, sales team. Everyone was friendly but busy, barely pausing from their work to say hello. Lisa felt overwhelmed within the first 10 minutes. "Don't worry about remembering everything right now," Daniel said, like he could read her mind. "It took me 6 months to figure out what everyone does here." Her desk was next to Daniel's office, a glass-walled room where she could see him working. The desk had a new computer, a phone with more buttons than she knew what to do with, and a stack of folders waiting for her. "Okay," Daniel said, pulling up a chair. "Let me show you the basics. Then we'll start slow." Slow was not the word Lisa would have used. Within an hour, she was managing Daniel's calendar, which looked like someone had played Tetris with meetings. She was answering emails, scheduling conference calls, and trying to understand terms like synergy and bandwidth that people kept using in ways that made no sense to her. By lunch, her head was spinning. Daniel ordered food for everyone, and Lisa sat at a table with some of the other employees trying to follow their conversation about coding languages and software updates. She understood maybe one word in 10. First day, a woman named Jessica asked kindly. She was one of the senior developers, someone Daniel had said was brilliant. That obvious? Lisa asked. You have that deer in headlights look. We all had it once. Jessica smiled. Don't worry. This place is crazy, but you get used to it. Daniel's a good boss, patient. He doesn't expect you to know everything on day one. But Lisa expected it of herself. She'd never been the kind of person to do things halfway. That afternoon, she stayed late after everyone else left, reading through files, trying to understand the company's structure, memorizing names and positions. Daniel found her there at 7 o'clock, still at her desk. Lisa, go home, he said gently. You don't have to do this all in one day. I just want to be good at this, she admitted. Everyone here is so smart, so educated. I feel like I'm faking it. Daniel sat on the edge of her desk. You want to know a secret? Half the people here feel like they're faking it too. It's called imposter syndrome. But you're not an imposter. You belong here as much as anyone. Lisa wanted to believe him, but that first week was brutal. She made mistakes. Scheduled a meeting for the wrong time zone. Forwarded an email to the wrong person. Forgot to order lunch for an important client meeting. Small things, but they felt massive to her. Each mistake made her certain that Daniel would realize he'd made a terrible decision hiring her. But he never got angry. He'd just show her the right way to do it, explain why it mattered, and move on. No yelling, no making her feel stupid. It was so different from other jobs she'd had where managers would lose their temper over tiny errors. You're doing fine, he told her at the end of her first week. Better than fine, actually. You're organized, you're reliable, and you care about getting things right. That's what matters. The second week was a little easier. Lisa started to understand the rhythm of the office, the patterns of how things worked. She learned that the development team needed coffee by 9 or they got grumpy, that clients preferred afternoon meetings, that Daniel worked best in the mornings and got creative in the evenings. She started anticipating what he needed before he asked for it. By the end of the first month, something had shifted. Lisa wasn't just surviving anymore. She was actually good at this. She'd reorganized Daniel's entire scheduling system, making it more efficient. She'd smoothed over a situation with an angry client by staying calm and listening. She'd even caught a mistake in a contract that could have cost the company thousands of dollars. How did you spot that? Daniel asked, genuinely impressed when she pointed out the contract issue. I read everything carefully, Lisa said. At the diner, if you mixed up orders, people got angry and didn't tip. So I learned to pay attention to details. Guess it's the same here, Daniel laughed. See? I told you your experience was valuable. But the real change came 3 months in. Daniel started asking for her opinion on things. Not just scheduling or office management, but business decisions. Should they hire more developers or focus on sales? What did she think about a new marketing strategy? At first, Lisa would freeze, thinking she couldn't possibly have anything useful to say. But Daniel would wait patiently until she worked through her thoughts. She discovered she had good instincts, maybe because she understood what it was like to be a regular person, not a tech insider. When the team wanted to make their software more complicated with tons of features, Lisa was the one who said, "But will normal people understand how to use it? Because if I can't figure it out, your customers probably can't either." The team had gone quiet. Then one of the senior developers nodded slowly. She's right. We've been designing for ourselves, not for users. After that meeting, people started coming to Lisa for her perspective. They called it the regular person test. If Lisa couldn't understand something, they'd simplify it. She became more than just an assistant. She became part of the team. Her life outside work was changing too. With her new salary, she'd moved her mom into a better apartment, one with heat that actually worked and a bathroom that didn't leak. Her mom was getting better health care, and the constant stress about money had eased, not disappeared, but eased. Lisa could breathe again. She'd also started taking online courses at night. Business management, basic accounting, even some introduction to technology classes. Daniel had offered to pay for them, but Lisa insisted on using her own money. She needed to prove to herself that she could do this, that she belonged here not because someone gave her a chance, but because she'd earned it. 6 months in, Daniel called her into his office. Lisa's stomach dropped. Had she messed something up? Was this where he told her it wasn't working out? Sit down, he said, and his tone was serious. I need to talk to you about something important. Lisa sat, her heart pounding. The board met yesterday, Daniel continued. We're expanding, growing faster than we expected, and I told them I want to restructure some positions. He paused. I want to promote you to operations manager. Lisa was sure she'd heard wrong. What? You've been doing more than assistant work for months now. You're managing schedules for the entire team, handling client relations, catching problems before they become disasters. That's operations management. And you're good at it. Really good at it. But I've only been here 6 months, Lisa said. There are people here with degrees, with experience. And you're better at this than they are. Lisa, I need someone who sees the whole picture, who understands both the business side and the human side. That's you. Daniel slid a paper across his desk. This is the new salary and responsibilities. Take a day to think about it. Lisa looked at the number on the paper. $85,000. For a girl who'd been making minimum wage less than a year ago, it felt impossible. That evening, she sat with her mom, showing her the offer letter. I'm scared, Mom, Lisa admitted. What if I can't do it? What if this is too much, too fast? Her mom looked at her with those wise eyes that had seen Lisa through every struggle. Baby, you've been scared since the day you walked into that fancy building to return a wallet. But you did it anyway. You've been scared every single day at that office, and you've been amazing anyway. Being scared doesn't mean you can't do it. Sometimes it just means it matters. Lisa thought about that, about how terrified she'd been standing in the rain, holding that wallet, making the choice to return it, about how scared she'd been on her first day of work, about every moment in the last 6 months when she'd been sure she'd fail. But she hadn't failed. She'd succeeded. Not because she wasn't afraid, but because she'd pushed through the fear. You're right, Lisa said softly. I'm going to do it. The next morning, she walked into Daniel's office and accepted the promotion. And as she walked out, heading back to her desk, she caught her reflection in the glass wall. She looked different now. Confident, professional. Like someone who belonged in this world. Because she did. A year had passed since Lisa found that wallet in the rain. Sometimes late at night when she couldn't sleep, she'd think about that moment, about how close she'd come to keeping that money, about how different her life would be right now if she'd made a different choice. She was sitting in Daniel's office on a Wednesday afternoon when he brought up something she hadn't expected. I've been thinking about something. For a while now, Daniel said, closing his laptop. You remember how we met? How I told you I'd been testing people? Lisa nodded. It was hard to forget. That whole experience changed how I see things, made me realize how many people are out there struggling. People with integrity and talent who just need a chance. He leaned forward. I want to start a foundation. Something that helps people from working class backgrounds get into tech careers. Training programs, mentorship, job placement, real opportunities, not just feel-good charity. Lisa felt something stir in her chest. That sounds amazing. I want you to run it, Daniel said simply. Lisa laughed, thinking he was joking. But his face stayed serious. Daniel, I can't run a foundation. I barely know what I'm doing as operations manager. You're being modest. You've completely transformed how this company runs. Our efficiency is up 40% since you took over operations. Client satisfaction is at an all-time high. The team actually likes coming to work now because you've made the environment better. Daniel pulled out a folder. I've been working on this proposal for months. I want to create something real, something that actually changes lives, and I can't think of anyone better to lead it than someone who's lived it. Lisa opened the folder, scanning the documents inside. Training programs for people without college degrees, partnerships with community centers in low-income neighborhoods, scholarships, mentorship from industry professionals. It was comprehensive, thoughtful, and ambitious. This is incredible, she whispered. But why me? You could hire someone with a nonprofit background, someone who knows how to run something like this. Because those people don't understand what it's like to count every dollar, to work yourself exhausted just to survive, to feel like opportunities only exist for other people. Daniel's voice was passionate now. You do. You know exactly who we're trying to help because you were them. You still remember what it feels like. Lisa thought about her mom, about all the nights they'd gone to bed worried about bills, about the dreams she'd given up because they seemed impossible, about every person still working multiple jobs, still struggling, still believing that success was only for people born into the right families. What if I mess it up? She asked quietly. What if you don't? Daniel countered. Lisa, when you walked into my building to return that wallet, you were terrified. I could see it. But you did it anyway. When you started working here, you were convinced you'd fail, but you didn't. You succeeded beyond what either of us imagined. This is just the next step. Lisa looked at the folder again, her mind racing. There's something else, Daniel continued. This isn't just about running programs. I'm making you a partner. You'll have equity in the company, real ownership, because this foundation is going to be part of who we are as a business, and you deserve to share in that. Partner. Equity. Words that felt foreign to someone who'd grown up with nothing. I need time to think about this. Take all the time you need, Daniel said. But Lisa, I wouldn't ask if I didn't believe you could do it. That evening, Lisa sat with her mom in their new apartment, the one with the working heat and the view of the park. Her mom's health had improved so much over the past year. Better medication, less stress, regular doctor visits. She looked younger somehow, lighter. He wants me to run a foundation, Lisa said, explaining everything, to help people like us. People who never thought they'd get a chance. Her mom was quiet for a long time, just holding her tea and looking out the window. Finally, she spoke. You know what I regret most in my life? Not the struggles, not the hard work. I regret that I stopped dreaming. Somewhere along the way, I decided that survival was enough, that keeping us fed and housed was all I could hope for. I stopped imagining that life could be bigger. She turned to Lisa, her eyes bright. But you didn't. Even when things were hardest, you kept believing in doing the right thing, in being a good person. And look where that brought you. You're not just surviving anymore, baby. You're thriving, and now you have a chance to help other people thrive too. How could you possibly say no to that? Lisa felt tears starting. What if I let people down? Then you'll learn and do better. That's what life is. But you won't know unless you try. Her mom reached over and squeezed her hand. I'm so proud of you. Not because you're successful now, but because you stayed true to who you are. That girl who returned the wallet in the rain, she's still you. Don't forget her. The next morning, Lisa walked into Daniel's office before he'd even finished his first coffee. I'll do it, she said. I'll run the foundation. But I have conditions, Daniel smiled. I'm listening. We don't just help people get jobs. We support them through it. Childcare assistance, transportation vouchers, mental health resources. Because getting the job is just the start. Keeping it when life gets hard, that's the real challenge. Agreed. What else? We hire people who've been through the program. No token gestures. Real positions with real salaries. I want this company to practice what we preach. Done. Anything else? Lisa took a deep breath. I want to stay involved with operations too. I love this work, this team. The foundation is important, but I don't want to lose what I've built here. Daniel nodded. We'll figure it out. You'll have a team for the foundation. Delegate. Trust other people the way I trusted you. That last part hit her. Trust. That's what all of this had been about from the beginning. Daniel had trusted her when he had no reason to. And now she had to learn to trust others. The foundation launched 6 months later. They called it Second Chances, and the response was overwhelming. Hundreds of applications in the first week. People from all walks of life, all with stories similar to Lisa's. Single parents working multiple jobs. People who'd made mistakes and were trying to rebuild. Immigrants trying to establish themselves. Veterans transitioning to civilian life. So many people, all just needing someone to believe in them. Lisa interviewed candidates herself, and every time she saw that mixture of hope and fear in their eyes, she remembered. She remembered standing in the rain with that wallet. She remembered walking into that fancy building. She remembered her first day at the office, sure she'd fail. One woman reminded her especially of herself. Young, scared, working 2 jobs to support her family. No college degree, but smart and determined. During the interview, the woman's hands shook as she held her resume. I know I don't have the background you're probably looking for, the woman said, but I work hard. I learn fast. I just need someone to give me a chance, Lisa smiled. I'm going to tell you something. A year and a half ago, I was exactly where you are. I was a waitress who'd never worked in an office. But someone saw something in me and took a chance. Now I'm sitting here, able to give you that same chance. Not because of your resume, but because I can see you have what really matters. The woman's eyes filled with tears. Really? Really? Welcome to the program. Over the next year, the foundation helped over 200 people start new careers. Some in tech, some in other fields, but every single one of them got support, training, and most importantly, someone who believed in them. The company itself changed too. Nearly a quarter of their employees now came from the program, bringing diverse perspectives and experiences that made everything better. Lisa stood on a stage at their first annual fundraiser, looking out at a room full of donors, partners, and program graduates. Daniel had insisted she be the one to speak. "A year and a half ago," Lisa began, "I found a wallet in a parking lot. It had enough money in it to solve a lot of my problems. I was broke, my mom needed medication, my rent was late. I could have kept that money and nobody would have known." The room was silent, everyone listening. But I'd been raised to believe that integrity matters, that doing the right thing matters even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. So I returned that wallet, and the man who owned it saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. He gave me a chance that changed my life completely. Lisa looked at Daniel, who was standing off to the side, smiling. "But this foundation isn't about me. It's about the thousands of people out there who are exactly where I was. People with talent, with integrity, with determination, who just need someone to believe in them. People who are one chance away from transforming their lives." She paused, looking around the room. That wallet had $800 in it. But the real value wasn't the money. It was the choice I made. And that choice led to this moment, to this foundation, to hundreds of people getting the chances they deserve. One honest decision rippled out and touched hundreds of lives. That's the power of integrity. That's the power of giving people chances. The room erupted in applause. But Lisa wasn't thinking about the applause or the success or any of it. She was thinking about that rainy night, about standing in a parking lot holding someone else's wallet, about making the choice that felt right even when it was hard. That choice had changed everything, not just for her, but for everyone the foundation would help. For Daniel, who'd regained his faith in people, for her mom, who was healthy and happy, for all the people who would get second chances because one waitress chose honesty over desperation. Sometimes, Lisa still couldn't believe how far she'd come, from a diner to a partnership in a successful company, from struggling to pay rent to running a foundation that changed lives, all because she'd done something simple, returned what wasn't hers. As she walked off the stage, a young man approached her. He was one of the first people the foundation had helped, now working as a junior developer at the company. "Thank you," he said simply. "You changed my life." Lisa smiled, thinking about everyone who'd said those same words to her over the past year. But she knew the truth. She hadn't changed anyone's life. She'd just given them the chance to change it themselves, just like Daniel had done for her. And that, she thought, was the whole point. One person giving another person a chance. One honest choice creating a ripple that spread wider than anyone could imagine. One wallet returned on a rainy night, leading to hundreds of dreams coming true. It turned out that doing the right thing didn't just change her life. It changed everything.